Hey there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
I'm Sam and I'm a non-gamer.
We are Love to Hate, where we try to help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're taking a look at A Wayfarer's Tale by James Emerson.
A Wayfarer's Tale is a roll and write adventure game for one or several players in which you are going to be rolling dice and using those numbers to explore across the map. This is a print and play version that we have out here for you to see. We got to do this as a preview for the upcoming Kickstarter campaign. Make sure to check out the Kickstarter link down below in the description of this video after you watch the video. I'll show you how this game works, and then we'll come back and share thoughts on it as a gamer and non-gamer. All right, so here's A Wayfarer's Tale, and as I mentioned at the top of this video, everything you see in this portion of the video is going to be prototype. This is actually the print and play version of the game, and so you'll want to check the Kickstarter campaign to get a better idea of what the final product will look like when it's released. That being said, let me show you guys about this roll and write adventure game. And this comes from James Emerson, and Tristam Rossin is the one who does the artwork here. And so what you have in this particular game, you are going to have two pages that all players will have. The page on the left is going to be your companion guide, and it's going to have the different companions that you will be marking off along the way. This is the writing portion of the game where you roll dice, and you will be using those dice to use to fill out this sheet. And then on the right here, this is going to be your map. And you are going to be exploring the map, trying to get to different towns, being the first player to do so in different regions and getting as many towns as you can, as well as other hexes along the way. And on the topic of the maps, you do have 4 different types of maps, or at least we were given 4 different types of maps here. You can see this is map 1, and there are going to be different types of hexes or regions for you to explore. You're going to have the yellow desert area, the green grasslands, your gray mountains up here, and a darker bluish green, which is the jungle. And you also have some water spaces as well. And you're going to be starting in one of these towns. You can see that some of the towns have numbers on them, and you'll roll a die at the beginning to determine which town you start in. So if I roll a 5 or a 6, I'm going to start here, and I would just mark off that town. And from that point, I would venture out and explore the countryside, going in one of the directions here. And how I do that, I'm going to use dice that are going to be rolled in the game. And you would have 3 dice, and I'll show you here in the rule book how it displays it. You will have 3 dice of one color and an active die of a different color. And how this works is all the other players who aren't the active player, they are going to use 2 of the common dice, the dice that everybody gets to use, whereas the active player, who is the one who rolls the dice for that particular turn, they can use the active die in addition to one of the communal dice. But however you split it, you are going to be using 2 dice, and you will be combining those 2 dice to give you your value. And you'll use that value to determine which companion you're going to use, and that companion will determine which type of hex you get to explore. So the coachman up here, he's going to let you explore grasslands and the mountains. And how he works is you're going to need to write a number that is equal to or greater than the number you wrote in the previous box. So the first box, you're going to want to write something really small, such as a 2. That's as small as you can get, snake eyes. And as you can see here, I was able to get another 2 and another 2, and then a 3, and so on and so forth. And so whenever you use the coachman, again, he lets you explore a grassland or a mountain. So coming back to our map here, if indeed I did start at this town right here, and I wanted to use the coachman, I could go north into this hex right here, or I could go south into this mountain right here. But I could not go to the jungles or the sea. If I wanted to do the sea, I would have to use the sailor. And the way the sailor works is you need to roll doubles, and then you would write the sum of those 2 dice. So for instance, I had snake eyes again, and I wrote 2. And then when I got 2 3s, I wrote a 6. And that is how you use the sailor. The next one we'll talk about is the guide here. The guide, she lets you go into the jungles and the desert. And what you're going to need to do there is you're going to need to enter a number that is equal to or greater than the number you see above the box. So as you can see, it depends on what the box is that you're trying to qualify for. The adventurer here, he's going to let you go through mountains and jungles. And it's kind of interesting how he works. As you go up a mountain on this sheet, you're going to need increasing numbers. But as you come down the mountain, you're going to need smaller numbers. And then you start over going up a new mountain and so on and so forth. The merchant, he's entirely different. He's going to let you explore deserts and grasslands. And how he works, he's a grid here. And so you're going to combine your 2 dice like always. And whatever that value is, you're going to find an open box. So say it's 4, for instance, and I could mark off any one of these 4 boxes here to be able to use his benefit. Or if I rolled a 9, for instance, I would use any one of these boxes here. And as you can see, this is a grid. And so every time I take a 5 box, I'm also taking one of the 8, 9s, 10s, or 11s away as well. And that's how this portion of your companion guide is going to work. And as you can see, you will be exploring the countryside, trying to get to the different towns. And every time you do, you would mark off one of the town boxes over here. And you would also go up on this little track right here. Now, this is, again, just prototype print and play version. So mine's kind of flimsy, but you would be moving your people up this stair step, the mountain here. And as you can see on map 1, it's 11 cities. And the first player who can get here to 11 cities, well, they have completed the map, and that would trigger the end game. And you would get 5 points for every city that you've explored. We'll talk about scoring here as well and how that all works. But there are a couple of other things you do need to know on this companion board here. Every time you get to a spot that has a treasure or a gem on it, you are going to write that number that you wrote in the box below the treasure, and you're going to add that to your treasure space. Now, everything in this is going to be victory points, so you want to try to get high numbers in this box. And consequently, the ones with the monsters, those are going to be negative victory points. So you want smaller numbers in these boxes because you'll be adding them here in the monsters. And again, you'll add this all up, and that'll be negative victory points. Now, the merchant is a little bit different. When you complete a row or column, you will get a treasure, but you're going to re-roll that red die, and that's going to determine what you're entering in your treasure box down here. And when you mark off one of these monsters, you'll re-roll the red die, and you'll input that in a monster box down here. Now, there are spaces on the maps where you can pick up gems and shields. And gems are going to allow you to re-roll that treasure die whenever you get a low number, and the shields will let you re-roll that monster die when you get a high number. And that's pretty much the gist of the game. Now, each map is going to have a different collection bonus. In this first map, you're going to see that the first player who gets the 2 desert towns, they'll get 5 extra points. Grass will get 6, jungle 7, mountains 8. And again, 5 points for every town that you come across. You also gain points for your treasures, losing points for your monsters, and then you'll add it all up together and see how many you have. Now, another way the game can end is if you are not able to do anything with the roll, or you just choose not to use it, you can mark off a miss roll. And if you do that 3 times, that will also end the game. Now, this little pop-up right here, this is for the solo campaign mode. There is a solo way to play this game, and you're going to have an entirely different sheet here. You'll have a market here, and this is just a fancier way to look at the market. You will select some things to purchase at the beginning of your campaign, and anytime you have positive points after a scenario, you'll be able to spend those points to buy things from the campaign again, and this will allow you to reduce monsters' values to 0 or let you remove monsters from your completed monster section, because if you run out of boxes in your monster section, you will die and you lose the campaign. There's other things that you can gain along the way and win conditions that you have to meet. Anyhow, you're going to add up your scores after 8 different scenarios, and you will compare it to this chart right here to see how you did. And that's it for this A Wayfarer's Tale. Let's go back up top and share our thoughts on this adventure roll and write. And we're back, and now we're going to share our thoughts on A Wayfarer's Tale from a gamer and non-gamer's perspective. So Sam, first impressions, what'd you think of this one?
It looked pretty complicated just because there's so many boxes that if you, without knowing the rules, you would assume you have to fill them all in. And so that seems a little overwhelming at first.
Yeah, anytime that there's more than one page that you're working with, drawing or marking things down, it can be a little intimidating for sure. But with this one, was it too complicated for you, do you think?
No, once the rules are explained, it was pretty easy. I mean, it's all about numbers. I think the hardest part was to remember which section you were supposed to do what. Which section were you supposed to go up the up in numbers, yeah, or increase your number or decrease your number, or I wish there was maybe a little bit more direction on each one, just by a little bit. Like the one that says, of course, the one that I messed up says more than or
greater than or equal to,
and I did less than on all of them. So maybe directions wouldn't help. But if they all had some type of symbol on there, the mountain one is pretty easy to understand because it goes up and down. But the ones that are kind of like, there's one that's a straight line, one that's a perpendicular line, and it's just, you're like, what exactly am I supposed to do here?
Yeah, it definitely does take a few turns to wrap your mind around it, to understand how all of the different companions work and where you can use them at. I know we experienced a little bit of issue with the two green hexes looking very similar with the jungle and the grassland. But I think once you can get beyond that, and granted, this is just the print and play version that we have, this is not the finalized product. Once you get beyond that, though, I think the gameplay is fairly smooth. Yeah. It's simply rolling the dice, choosing two to combine together, and writing a number on your page. Maybe you have to write that number more than once. But otherwise, it's a fairly straightforward game. And what you're trying to achieve is pretty simple. Yeah. I want to visit the towns, or I want to get all of the certain types of cities before other players are able to get them, or just whatever the case may be. What was the experience like for you, the gameplay experience?
I mean, it was good. You're just kind of going, you're making a pass. You need to pay attention to where that path's going, what your goal is. And I think at the beginning, you're just kind of not really sure where you want to go, but trying to get all the towns of each section to get that bonus. But you can't cross over your path unless it's in a town. So just kind of knowing all the rules.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of having to plan ahead as far as the route you want to build, and then needing the numbers to work out in your favor to make that route happen for you. And if it doesn't happen for you, what's your plan B going to be? That's kind of where this game is. That's where the meat of this game is that aspect of trying to make the route happen for you. I enjoyed it pretty well. The solo version of this game is a campaign that you can do, as I explained in the rules portion of the video. And I found it to be very challenging. It was an extremely challenging solo experience, which I really enjoy. It's not easy at all to even get beyond the first mission. It's pretty challenging. So if you're somebody out there that really thrives on difficult challenges for solo mode, you're going to get your money's worth out of A Wayfarer's Tale. The competitive gameplay between multiplayer, though, is still a lot of fun. Our game was extremely close. Yeah. I think the point spreads were single digits. And so really highly competitive game. And one thing that we've talked about in several other videos and other games is the plus of not knowing what the score is throughout the course of the game. Yeah. You have no idea what your opponents are scoring. You have a faint idea of maybe what you're scoring just based off of how many towns you've gone to and your treasures, what you're marking on your treasures and your monsters, but you don't know what anybody else is doing when it comes to that regard. And so it's really kind of surprising at the end what the scores shake out to be. And I know playing with non-gamers, that's a huge advantage because you don't have the visual score track to discourage anybody. I'm 30 points behind. I can't win, so I'm going to give up kind of experience. You get a nice little 3D element here with the printouts that we have. And this is really cool mountaintop, and then the market that you're going to be buying from if you are playing in the solo mode. So really cool experience. That's A Wayfarer's Tale. It's running on Kickstarter, and check out the link down below. Let us know what you think. Give us some comments down below.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push that bell button to get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we try to bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.